Hello again, and welcome to Catholic Social Teaching 101. I'm Jim Grant, your host, and it's a pleasure to be back with you again. We're in our 8th episode of this ongoing series. Our special guest today comes from Sacramento. It's Steve Pehanich, who is the Senior Director for Advocacy and Education for the California Catholic Conference in Sacramento. We had a program 2 weeks ago and a week ago about the California Catholic Conference, and the last slide we looked at is the one we're going to open with right now, California Today. Steve closed on this slide, and here's what he said. Basically, California is in a almost perpetual crisis, it seems, budget-wise and with other stuff going on besides the budget. We have a lot of issues right now in the legislature. It's a very, very serious time for us as faithful citizens. There is a lot of polemic in politics. There just seems to be a lot of harshness and polarization. And finally, we as Catholics are asked to do our task as faithful citizens in a very diligent, well-informed, conscientious way. As that opening, Steve, where would you want to begin your presentation about California Today and the challenges the conference faces as we move forward to prepare ourselves for the election in November, but also for the rest of our political lives?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. You know, we tend to think California is in a perpetual crisis of budget because so many important decisions are rolled into the budget right now. We're always fighting about the budget. We're always fighting about social issues, especially here in California, so it's difficult. And then we find our politicians hurling things back and forth at each other. It's like, how do you know what's the truth, et cetera. And so, Catholics are confused. They're not sure. They're just like the rest of the general public. So part of the function of the bishops is to help teach. And so they have developed a network. Part of the conference function is to help teach. So we'll talk a little bit about that, how that works. But first I want to start by talking about how to influence public policy, because that's kind of key to that. The first way you could influence public policy is you have 12 bishops, ordinaries. You have 12 dioceses. The bishops are community leaders. They are important members of the community, and they can talk to elected officials, city council, state senators, state assembly people, United States senators, and the President of the United States. So one community leader to another, they can talk to each other. We have a staff of lobbyists in Sacramento, we talked about last program. Their job is to kind of convey information to the state lawmakers. This is what the situation is. This is what the common good demands. This is what the dignity of the individual demands. And so that's another way. But neither one of those operates in a vacuum. No. Together, they have to operate with the grassroots. And the grassroots are the 11, 12 million Catholics in the state of California. So a few years ago, about 8 or 9 years ago, the bishops got together and created what we call the Catholic Legislative Network. And its job is to basically educate Catholics on the issues that are important in California, tell them what Catholic teaching is on those issues so that the Catholics can make up their own mind. It's important that people realize the network does not tell people how to vote. one of the last things you tell an American is how to vote. I mean, it's just not done in this country. And frankly, if the bishops told people how to vote, they probably wouldn't listen anyway. So we're well aware of that. The network's goal is to educate and move people towards advocacy, not just to say do this or do that. So one of the most important parts of that network is that it's a partnership. We have 2 archdioceses in the state of California, Los Angeles and San Francisco, and 10 dioceses. That's a significant public presence. And you have people from all those dioceses getting together to learn about the issues and then take action on the issues. And the California Catholic Conference is the public policy arm of the bishops of those 12 dioceses. So we work with the bishops, but we also work with the lay faithful in the diocese to help them understand what's going on, so that they can make informed decisions. You know, we talk about faithful citizenship. What I like to talk about is informed faithful citizens, because you can't make an effective decision unless you have the information. So the bishop started the Catholic Legislative Network. It's grassroots advocacy and education. It's weekly emails, insights, and action alerts. And we send out a weekly email Friday mornings about policy issues that are going on in the state. Now, I realize people get a lot of emails. I get a lot of emails. Sometimes when people ask me what I do, I just say my job's returning emails. Because
I'm right there with you.
We're all doing that. So what we try to do is make it short and sweet. So there's 4 or 5 issues a week on that. And then if you want to learn more, you can click and go to links and find out more. But for the most part, it's just kind of a summary, like a news summary of the week. And then from time to time, we'll do action alerts, say asking people to contact their legislators. That's for the grassroots advocacy to support what the lobbyists do. And I love it when lobbyists come back into the office and said, oh, you know, I met with Senator so-and-so. He said, they've been getting a lot of emails from Catholics. What do you guys want? Because that's what the grassroots help us do. It helps us get that opening and get attention. As I said, it's a partnership of all the archdioceses and the diocese in the state. And I think most importantly, it respects individuals. You have a responsibility to inform your conscience, and you have the obligation to follow that conscience. But I think you need to do that by getting all the information for you, you know, the information on the actual nuts and bolts of legislation or policy issues, plus, most importantly for Catholics, what's the Catholic teaching on that? You get all that, you understand that, then you have to make up your own mind. People don't like that. You know, some people don't like that, but it's important.
Right now, for our viewers, could you give us an idea, Steve, of how easily they could go to their computer now after the program and decide that they could please register with the Catholic Legislative Network? What would they need to do?
Well, we have a website. It's www.cacatholic.org. And we try to make that as informative as we possibly can. So we have information on all our priority areas. As we talked about, those are our life, family, economic justice or human dignity, religious liberty, restorative justice, immigration, and education. So if you're interested in any of those subjects, and if you living, breathing California, you're probably interested in at least one, there's information there for you. And on every page of the website, there's a button that says Join the Network.
Great.
So all you have to do is click that button, fill in the information, and it is basically your name, address, email, and areas that you're interested in. People ask me, is that secure? That's a big question I get all the time, and I tell them it's as secure as your credit card information is. So we have a good security system, but it's modern times. We need your address because the system will automatically address to your elected representative. Yeah. So I remember, I've been active in politics since I was in college. In the old days, you had to look up the name of your legislator in the white pages. You remember the white pages? And then the white pages didn't have the zip code.
No.
So you had to go to the Thomas Guide to find the zip code, so you had to find the address and stuff. By the time you did all that work, it's like, oh, I don't feel like writing a letter anymore.
Oh, I'm tired.
That's the beauty of the system. Not only can you write an email to your elected representative, but you could tweet and post on his or her Facebook page as well. So it gives you a lot of options. And we will, from time to time, you get the newsletter on Friday. From time to time, we'll send you an email that asks you to take action. And, one of the interesting things about that, if you have a bill in the legislature, for instance, it's got to go through first its own house, and it may have to go to 1 or 2 committee meeting sessions, hearings. Then it goes to the floor of that house, and then it goes to the next house, Senate or Assembly, and it goes go through the whole process again. We're not going to send an alert when it's in the committee to everybody in the state of California.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send an alert only to those people whose elected representative is on that committee. So you don't get bombarded with emails. We want to respect people's time. You get a lot of emails. We want to make it worth your while. But most importantly, we want to make sure you understand the issues. So if you're part of the network and you get an alert, hopefully by that time, this is not new to you. You've been reading about it for a while. So, and when you say, yeah, I will take action on that alert, you're convinced that's the right thing to do. You could always edit your email. In fact, we encourage that. If we're doing an alert, say on healthcare or air quality or something like that, and your child's struggling with asthma, tell that story to your elected representative. All you need to do is look at any political speech, and what do they talk about? They'll say, X number percentage of children suffer from asthma, and look over here is little Sally, and this is what she's gone through. So you start with the macro, but you got to bring it down personal. I mean, that's what politicians do in their speeches. That's what you should do as an advocate too. I mean, start with the macro, but how does this affect your life? And the more it affects your life, the more adamant you'll be, and the stronger your voice will be. So,
we are being told that we have used up the first half of the show. Steve, how do you feel about that?
I can keep going if you want.
He can keep going, but you can't. We're going to stop right now, give Steve a 1-minute break, and then we'll be back for the final segment sharing what the CCC is all about, the legislative network, the website, and how we can become much better and more committed, faithful citizens. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
KNXT thanks all its loyal viewers and respected businesses who have supported your Catholic television station. Now you can support KNXT with program underwriting by having your name, your company's name, or organization associated with your favorite program. Detailed information about you or your company will appear before and after each program or day part you select. Keep the quality and spiritual message alive and make a difference. Call 559-488-7440 today or go online at knxt.tv to find out more about program underwriting on KNXT.
Hello again and welcome back to Catholic Social Teachings 101. We're on our last segment with Steve Pehanich, coming all the way from Sacramento to share with us his work and the work of the California Catholic Conference, serving the whole state of California, all of us Catholics. We're at the point of taking action, and I want to say that I hope you'll do what I'm going to do when I get back to the office, is to reapply for my legislative network, because I used to be on it, but I must admit that for some reason, maybe I didn't pay my dues, I'm not sure. I'm not receiving it Fridays, so what we're going to do is figure out how to re-register one more time, make sure that I'm going to get my updates, and then I'll be challenging all of our viewers to do that, to go to cacatholic.org, and on every page of that website, to just look for Legislative Network and to register. It's very little information you have to impart, and it's a lot of good information you'll get on a Friday. Just the information you asked for, the topics you're interested in, the issues you want to be addressing. So, Steve, in the last 10 minutes, where do you want to pick up and lead us forward?
Well, I think, the purpose of the legislative network is to get people active in their communities. So I think it's important that people realize how they can take action. You got to start, it's election year, we'll start by saying you got to vote. I mean, that's as simple as that. We had, in the primary election we just concluded, we had about 47-48% of people voted. That's kind of low, that is a right and a responsibility that we really need to stay on top of. Before you vote or take any action in the community, you have to be informed. And so that's what the Catholic Legislative Network is there. We'll have information on the California budget. We'll have information on important legislation. We'll have information on important state developments. We cover 90% of what we cover is state, but we also have national and international news on that as well. So you could have a good idea of what's going on in the Catholic world just by subscribing to the network on a regular basis. And you can just scan the emails too and say, oh, I'm interested in that item, but not that one. And so we always provide you with extra links so that if you want to learn more, you can. And then set up a meeting with your local legislator. These men and women that are lawmakers. They go seek elected office a lot of times because they're concerned about the community. I would say the vast bulk of times they're concerned about the community.
You really think so? I'm just asking.
I think there's ambition. There's ambition in career. But I know a lot of guys who were elected, they're businessmen or businesswomen. They want to make their community better. So I think we have to be generous with our understanding of a person's motives.
Absolutely. And help them do their jobs better. It's true that we can be blaming and saying the legislature, the Congress, whatever it is, they are just awful people and they don't do anything right. Well, push them. And I remember that, well, not that I was alive, but FDR used to do things and they'd say, are you going to do this? You make me do it. And then certain legislation passed because people pushed. I think voters, like ourselves, have to take up our own responsibilities. You're right. It's on us.
Yeah, I mean, so the lawmakers care about, they're active in their communities, go to the community festival, the debate night, or whatever's going on in your local community. A lot of these legislators have town hall meetings. Go find out what's going on. Even if you don't have anything particular to say, get to know the person. I mean, it's really important. And they appreciate it, too. A good legislator understands that he or she represents everybody in his or her district, not just those registered to vote. So I would, that being said, I would also make sure you're registered to vote. You have until November, or you probably have, let's see, the election is November 8th, so you have 15 days prior to that. So if you're not registered, make sure you do. You can go to the Secretary of State, or it's the registertovote.ca.gov. Go there. You could do it online now. There was just a law passed in California that if you have a driver's license, you are and are a U.S. citizen, you are automatically registered to vote. But they're still working out the bugs in that system, so you can't count on that. If you do have a driver's license, you can register online. If the DMV does not have your signature on file, then you have to sign it and mail it in. So I would suggest go to the website, follow the instructions very carefully. And then what do you get to do? Then you get to vote for candidates. So
that's the fun part.
That's the fun part. You register to vote, and then you got to make those hard decisions. So how do you make up your mind on candidates? As a nonprofit, we do not endorse candidates, nor is that a very wise thing for the Catholic Church to do. Because I say we're on both sides of the aisle, that we have a home in neither party. And frankly, if you were to pick a candidate and say, oh yeah, he or she represents all of Catholic teaching, I think you'd probably be disappointed somewhere along the line. It's not, I mean,
it's not even close.
We're all human. So
yeah.
Consider candidates whose public lives and public work exemplify what they're saying. I mean, what's the old expression, talk is cheap? You know, have they lived that out? Do they demonstrate? Do they promise stuff and deliver on it or not deliver on it? Are they open-minded? You know, we accuse candidates of flip-flopping all the time, but, you know, have they changed their position because they had a good discussion, with, you know, ongoing discussion, debate with people, heard from their constituents, etc.? We all change our mind. In the modern world, it's getting harder and harder to change people's minds. But, you know, are they open? Are they open to difference? Are they open to new information and learning? You know, that's important, because that's part of what it means to be a human being, is that you have to find out what's going on around you. As we in Catholic teaching would say, the signs of the times. You know, in the early 1900s, we invited immigrants here. We always had issues with the new immigrants, but then some other immigrants would come and replace them, and we'd have different issues. Now, you know, the signs of the times, now we're not as inviting. How come? What's going on? What's different? We're a church of immigrants, and so, you know, has our opinion changed from the 1900s to now? Not the Catholic Church's position, but maybe the public's position has.
Steve, there's one thing I really want to pull you back to, because I know it's on people's minds. This idea of selecting candidates, the California Catholic Conference did us a beautiful service in which you've created some information that isn't a voter guide in the sense of telling you whom to vote for, but there are resources to help us actually decide whom we may be needing to vote for, as opposed to someone we might not be able to vote for. Can you help us on that one? On the cacacatholic.org, our website, there is access. You can get access to any bill that the California Catholic Conference follows. And then you can find out how that legislator voted on that bill. So, you know, a life bill, end of life, assistance to the poor, immigration, you could access all that there. We don't put that into a scorecard, because sometimes a vote can be very deceptive. Oh, yeah.
You see this in Washington especially all the time. Let's have a vote to put the other guy on the spot, you know, with something you know is never going to pass, or maybe patently unconstitutional. So you got to be careful comparing those votes. It's not a magic bullet.
No.
So you want to be real careful on that. And, you know, look at a candidate, go to a debate, talk to a candidate, send an email to a candidate, or a letter, or better yet, call. Say, what's your position on this and why? It doesn't have to be adversarial. It doesn't, you know, you watch television, you get all these people shouting at each other. I don't. I turn the channel.
Yeah.
You know, I love a reasoned debate, and you could have a reasoned debate with people on both sides of the aisle. So look for that kind of stuff when you select a candidate. So, you know, I tell a story a lot of times of a young Catholic priest who's doing his first sermon for the kids, and his sermon's going to be, what's on the signs and symbols in the church? And so he's thinking, oh, you know, the kids are going to talk about the cross, the crucifix. They're going to talk about the candles. They'll talk about the altar. So the kids are all gathered around, and he says, so what's the most important sign of the church? The little girl raises her hand. She says, the most important sign is the exit sign. And he's beside himself. He's never prepared that. He's like, the exit sign, what does that mean? So what do? You say to the little girl, so what do you mean, you know, about that. And the little girl says, the most important, my mom tells me the exit sign is the most important because we're supposed to take what we learn here and bring it out to the world. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to help you understand the issues. We're trying to give you easy access to the information you need so that you can take it out into the world and act as a faithful citizenship. And I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times, not just voting, but participation in your community. There's things you could do as individuals, as a family, as a parish. There's all sorts of ways that you can continue doing that.
Is there some more information you wanted to give us about, let's say, how to contact you? And then there's Sandra Palacios, who would be able to serve us for all of our Spanish language needs. Tell us about that final slide.
I think we've only said it 75 times,
but
maybe,
it
but
bears
you go to
repeating.
cacatholic.org. That's the phone number, main phone number for the conference. You can email me. Sandra is our life and family lobbyist, and she's bilingual. So she and I do a lot of these presentations around the state. And so if you had Spanish questions you want to write in Spanish. Incidentally, our newsletter is published simultaneously in English and Spanish. And so a lot of people really appreciate that.
Great. Well, that's going to serve our needs because our diocese is distinctively bilingual, if not trilingual, quadrilingual, or quinquer, whatever that is. We have the needs to have people's issues addressed, especially in English and Spanish, but we have a large minority community, and we hope that you'll look at cacatholic.org today and often, that you'll decide to look at resources that the Diocese of Fresno is making available to you on our YouTube channel, that you'll go to our website, KNXT.tv, and also the dioceseoffresno.org website. We need to address these issues, as Steve has said, by having informed consciences as faithful citizens. We hope these programs are helping, and until next time, God bless.